The scene shifted into a crisp, refreshing morning at Silver Dragon Castle. He arrived early at the training ground, dressed in comfortable athletic wear, already easing into his warm-up routine. He bent his right leg, stretched the other back, and straightened up effortlessly. His goal? Simple. Get a head start on training for the upcoming family sports meet. As Leon continued his stretches, a familiar figure came into view. Rosewise was approaching with a relaxed smile, dressed in sleek, lightweight sportswear, her hair tied into a high ponytail. She raised her arms above her head, stretching with elegant ease, her posture exuding calm confidence. Leon, still mid-stretch, blinked, just briefly, slightly dazed. She really does have the figure of a model. She could wear anything and still make it look stunning, he thought. Rosewise, unaware of his thoughts, stepped forward with a cheerful suggestion. The kids are still asleep. Let's do 2 laps to warm up. Leon nodded, more than ready. Sure, sounds good. They began a slow jog around the training ground, the silence broken only by the rhythm of their footsteps and the soft rustle of wind. As they ran, Leon glanced at Rosewise. By the way, what kind of events are in a Dragon Clan sports meet? Rosewise looked straight ahead, answering casually. When I was in the academy, we had triathlons, running, high jumps, long jumps, things like that. Leon chuckled. So, not that different from our human events. Doesn't sound too hard. Rosewise's eyes narrowed slightly. She shot him a sideways glance. Don't take it lightly. Our sports meets are anything but simple. Leon thumped his chest with confidence. Well, I'm a dragon slayer. Taking first place in those events should be easy. Rosewise let out a short laugh. Then suddenly she picked up her pace. Oh, that confidence is cute. But wasn't it you who collapsed after just a couple of laps the other day? Leon's cheeks flushed. He remembered that day all too well. Hey, that was because someone kept me up late with homework, he called after her, jogging to catch up. Rosewise glanced back with a sly smile. His flustered look was just too entertaining. Suddenly, she stopped, turned around, and began jogging backwards, still keeping pace with him. Want some motivation? She teased. Leon eyed her, cautiously intrigued. Rosewise raised a single finger, her expression playful but firm. If our family wins first place, I'll give you 1 week of rest. No training, no lessons. Just peace. Leon's eyes widened. A whole week off? Seriously? He asked, hopeful. Rosewise nodded slowly and confidently. Yes, 100% real. Something lit up inside Leon. He clenched his fists, his eyes gleaming with energy. All right, the champion title is ours. Let's go. With a loud shout, Leon blasted forward like a rocket, clouds of dust rising in his wake. Before Rosewise could even respond, he had disappeared into the distance, leaving only a trail of swirling sand. She blinked in mild disbelief, then laughed softly. 1 sentence was all it took, huh? She muttered, amused. Well, that worked better than I expected. Later, after their warm-up, Leon sat on a bench catching his breath. Sweat glistened on his forehead, but his eyes were sharp with focus. Rosewise strolled over, composed as ever. Feeling awake now? She asked. Leon shot up, full of spirit. Awake? I feel like I just ate black dragon bolognas. Rosewise smiled, clearly pleased with his enthusiasm. Then, she walked over to a nearby bag and pulled out a rope. Since this is a family-based sports meet, some events might require team coordination. Let's work on physical training and teamwork. She carefully began straightening out the rope, but Leon took one look and froze. His eyes narrowed, arms crossing suspiciously. What are you doing with that? You already tortured me with teacher homework. Now you're pulling out rope training games? Rosewise crossed her arms, unimpressed. What are you imagining? Have you ever heard of a 3-legged race? Realization hit Leon. His cheeks turned slightly red. Yeah. I've seen it at the Dragonslayer Academy. He quickly grabbed the rope, trying to hide his embarrassment. The two stood side by side on the training field. Leon bent down and tied his left leg to Rosewise's right, the space between them uncomfortably close. Leaning away slightly, Leon sneaked a glance. She's really close. This is awkward. Meanwhile, Rosewise stood calmly, eyes closed, hands folded, completely unbothered. Leon cleared his throat and focused. Let's just get this over with, he muttered. He stepped forward, but Rosewise didn't move. Why are you just standing there? He asked, frowning. Rosewise cracked one eye open. And how exactly am I supposed to know where you're going if you don't say anything? Leon sighed, then pointed toward a patch of soft grass. There. At least if we fall, it won't hurt. He stepped again, too fast. Rosewise stumbled, nearly falling backward. Leon lost balance and bumped into her. Hey, don't push me. You pushed me first. After a clumsy shuffle, they finally made it to the grassy area. Both took a deep breath and got into position. Leon narrowed his eyes. Just don't slow me down. Rosewise raised an eyebrow, amused. Thank you. That was a great morning joke. Leon counted down. 3, 2, 1, go! Rosewise burst forward with energy. Leon, not so much. Wah! Rosewise sprinted, completely forgetting they were tied. The rope stretched. Leon flailed behind her like a human kite. Dust flew. Birds scattered. Stop! Leon shouted, his voice echoing through the trees. Finally, Rosewise skidded to a stop. Leon bent down, panting and retying the rope. Do you even understand what tacit coordination means? He muttered. Rosewise said nothing. She stood there, eyes closed. You've got giant legs. Why couldn't you just keep up? Leon stood and brushed dirt from his hands. I'm not wasting energy arguing. Let's do this right, he explained. On 1, we lift the outer leg. On 2, we lift the tied leg. Got it? Rosewise nodded lazily. Then, without warning, Leon gently placed a hand on her waist. Rosewise froze. Her eyes widened. Her face turned bright pink. Leon, completely unaware of the awkwardness, said casually, This'll help us move more smoothly. Rosewise looked down, took a deep breath, and nodded. Let's just start. Leon led with steady commands. 1, 2. 1, 2. Their steps were clumsy at first, but gradually they found their rhythm. Sunlight filtered through the trees, casting a golden glow across the field, a quiet symbol of progress. Step by step, human and dragon worked toward understanding. Later, training continued, with Rosewise's unique flair, which meant challenges, big ones. Leon was now doing push-ups, not just regular push-ups, 500, with Rosewise sitting right on his back. 1, 2, 3, she counted casually. Leon gritted his teeth. You really enjoy this, don't you? When Leon was on the verge of collapse, Rosewise changed tactics. She lay on the ground beneath him, voice teasing. Don't give up, or you'll fall right on top of me. Leon's eyes widened. His arms shook violently. Absolutely not. He held on with his last ounce of strength. Finally, done. Leon collapsed onto the ground, panting like he'd run through 3 time zones. His soul looked halfway out of his body. Rosewise stood above him, hands on hips, beaming with pride. Congratulations, you've survived today's training. 500 push-ups, completed. With her hands on her hips and a soft breath escaping her lips, she watched her daughter race into the distance. There wasn't a hint of fatigue on Rosewise's face, only quiet pride. The energy she'd unleashed moments ago still hummed in her limbs. Compared to the gasping runners bent over around her, Rosewise looked almost untouched by the exertion. A few competitors glanced her way, their breaths broken between words. Why is that dragon so fast? I'm exhausted already. Meanwhile, the live broadcast continued on the massive screen, following the race's shifting dynamics. The spotlight was now on Noah and Dean, runners number 8 and 11, both charging toward the 3rd relay point. Noah kept her gaze ahead, lips pressed in focus, running with everything she had. But Dean, older and with longer legs, was steadily closing the distance. His stride was smooth, confident, and full of quiet intent. Then, with a burst of power, Dean surged past her. He glanced sideways with a grin, tossing a playful taunt behind him. Bye-bye, short-legged dragon. Noah's eyes widened. A flicker of frustration passed over her face. She clenched her jaw and pushed harder. I'm not letting this advantage go, she thought. Mom gave me a head start. I can't waste it. Sitting in the audience, Mwan recognized the purple blur passing by. Her sister. She jumped up, flower balls waving wildly, and shouted at the top of her lungs, Noah, come on, you can do it! At the commentary desk, Pineapple turned excitedly to Duncan. Dean clearly has the upper hand. Age, height, experience. Will Noah be able to keep up? Duncan simply sipped his tea, his smile unchanged. Until the final moment arrives, he said with a knowing tone. The outcome remains unwritten. The 2 racers rounded the final bend of their leg, neck, and neck. Leon and another dragon, brown-haired and ready, stood at the relay point, hands stretched behind them. On the track, it was now a matter of inches. Dean lunged forward, handing his baton to his father, Gordon, who bolted from the line like a cannonball. Just a second behind, Noah delivered her baton to Leon. He grabbed it firmly, barely breaking stride, and launched forward to chase down the advantage. Pineapple's voice rose with intensity. Dean completes his pass just a step ahead, but Noah doesn't fall behind. Leon is now in hot pursuit. Rosewise had moved near the 3rd relay point just in time to see Noah jog toward her. Noah's head was slightly lowered, her expression tight. She walked over with hesitant steps, voice quiet. Mom, I'm sorry I lost the lead. But Rosewise knelt gently and placed a hand on her daughter's head, smiling with warmth. You did amazing, she said. He's older, taller. and you still held your ground. That's something to be proud of." Then she added, "Let's go cheer for your dad." Noah nodded, her eyes lighting up just a bit. Together, they headed toward the finish line. Out on the field, Gordon maintained his lead, a smug smile on his face. Every step he took seemed full of confidence. He glanced back, spotting Leon gaining on him. "You're 5 seconds too slow, Silver Dragon," he called over his shoulder with a smirk. Leon's brows knit in frustration, his breathing deepened, legs moving like pistons. 5 seconds, he muttered under his breath. Try telling that to someone who's desperate for a vacation. The screen showed both dragons accelerating, now running at full tilt. Gordon let out a few confident laughs as he pulled ahead again, but Leon wasn't giving up. The crowd noticed the shift, even Muon, who jumped up again, waving her flower balls furiously. "Dad, come on! You're the best!" Rosewise and Noah had reached the edge of the track near the finish line. Noah pressed her hands around her mouth and called out a bit shyly, "Come on, Dad, you can do it." The words cut through the crowd noise like a bell. Leon's eyes widened just slightly. Noah had just called him Dad. A flicker of surprise crossed his face, then turned into something deeper. His expression hardened, in a good way. He leaned forward and pushed off the ground with new strength. "Since Noah encouraged me," he whispered under his breath, "there's no way I'm losing now." With renewed energy, Leon surged forward. His feet pounded against the track with force and rhythm, and in mere seconds, he had drawn neck and neck with Gordon. Gordon, still grinning from his earlier lead, suddenly saw Leon beside him, not falling behind but matching his pace. His eyes widened in disbelief. What? That disbelief quickly turned into irritation. He hated losing, especially to someone who was supposed to be behind him. Gritting his teeth, Gordon thought bitterly, "If I let him pass me now, I'll never hear the end of it." He glanced around. No referees watching, no cameras too close. He pressed his shoulder subtly, summoning a crackle of lightning. Desperate times, desperate methods. He sidled closer to Leon, preparing to fire off a low-grade shock to trip him up. But Leon had already noticed the shift in energy, the faint buzz of electricity. As a seasoned dragon slayer, his senses were sharp. Without missing a beat, Leon slammed his foot down, launching forward and away from Gordon's reach. "Try dirty tricks again," he growled, "and don't blame me for what comes next." As he darted ahead, his heel kicked up a spray of dust and loose gravel from the track. Not on purpose, but not entirely accidental either. The dust hit Gordon square in the eyes. "Oh, that stings." Gordon staggered, blinking rapidly. He hadn't anticipated that. Blinded, he tripped, one foot catching over the other, and went sprawling, face first onto the track. Thud. Gasps erupted from the audience. With no one in his path now, Leon shot forward like an arrow, arms stretched wide as he charged through the red ribbon at the finish line. Pineapple's voice burst through the loudspeakers. "Leon crosses the finish line first. The Malibu family wins the championship." The crowd roared, flower balls flew, applause shook the stands. Leon lifted his arms in a triumphant gesture and ran toward Rosewise and Noah, joy lighting up his face. Noah and Rosewise met him halfway, running with wide grins and open arms. Leon scooped Noah up and spun her once. "Hey, what did you just shout to me back there?" he asked playfully. Noah's cheeks turned pink. She looked away shyly, then murmured, "Dad." Leon froze for just a second, then broke into the biggest grin of his life. He pressed his cheek against hers, rubbing affectionately. That felt good," he teased softly. "Say it again." Noah huffed and crossed her arms, still hiding her smile. Win the next race too. Then I'll think about it." Rosewise chuckled gently, but her expression turned more serious as she approached. Her eyes scanned Leon's form carefully. "You're not hurt, are you?" Leon met her gaze and nodded. "I'm fine." Meanwhile, at the sidelines, Misty helped a limping Gordon toward the referee's stand. His uniform was stained with dirt, and his pride clearly more bruised than his body. Dean rushed up, concern written all over his face. Gordon, still fuming, pointed angrily toward Leon. "Referee, I'm filing a complaint. He fouled me. He threw sand in my eyes." Leon crossed his arms, expression flat. "Really? That's what we're doing?" he replied dryly. Then, without missing a beat, he pointed right back. "He tried to zap me with lightning mid-sprint. You'll find traces of magic on his shoulder." Gordon froze. The confidence on his face vanished. The referee stepped closer, raising an eyebrow. "Is that true?" Leon put on a theatrically scared expression, wrapping his arms around himself and swaying like a helpless victim. "I was so scared. I just ran faster. Maybe my foot stirred up a little dust. You can't really blame me, right? The referee blinked, part skeptical, part amused. Still, he nodded. We'll need to check both sides. Please cooperate. He turned toward Gordon. But before the referee could proceed, Misty stepped forward, eyes blazing. My husband is the victim here. Why are we being inspected? Just as tensions mounted, a deep, calm voice cut through the noise. What's going on here? Everyone turned. Walking toward the referee's stand was an elderly dragon with a long white beard, flanked by 2 guards. His robe shimmered in silver and electric blue, the same colors as Gordon's uniform. His eyes were sharp, commanding. This was Saul, the chairman of the arbitration committee and the leader of the Electric Dragon clan. Leon leaned slightly toward Rosewise and asked under his breath, Is this old guy also from the Electric Dragon clan? Rosewise nodded, barely glancing over. It didn't take much to guess Gordon's plan. Lean on clan loyalty, twist the facts, and get the race result overturned. After all, Saul was his clan's leader. Surely he'd take their side, right? Saul listened without expression. Then he raised a hand, summoning a referee who carried a crystal ball. They reviewed the race footage with the committee, eyes flicking across the magic screen with intense focus. A brief discussion followed, whispers, nods. Finally, Saul turned back to Gordon, his face like carved stone. I've reviewed the footage thoroughly. The evidence is clear. Contestant 12, Gordon, committed a foul during the race. According to regulations, your family's eligibility is revoked. All existing points are invalidated. The words hit like a thunderclap. Gordon's jaw dropped. Misty's smirk vanished. Dean froze, stunned. Gordon stepped forward, his voice cracking. What? Chief? He reached out, eyes pleading. But Saul didn't flinch. Shut up, Saul barked, his voice sharp and final. With solemn steps, he approached Leon and Rosewise. He lowered his head ever so slightly, a gesture that carried the weight of pride being set aside. I deeply apologize on behalf of my clan member. He has brought dishonor to us, and I take full responsibility. Rosewise offered a calm, composed smile. I hope you'll discipline your members properly, Chief Saul. Luckily, my husband wasn't injured. If he had been, she added, an apology might not have been enough. Leon, standing beside her with arms folded and eyes closed, nodded in agreement. Saul's gaze flicked to Gordon, now visibly trembling, and his voice dropped, sharp and resolute. I understand. I will make sure he receives the proper lesson. As if on cue, his bodyguards flanked Gordon and his team, quietly ushering them away. Saul didn't miss a step, his cane tapping against the ground as he lectured Gordon in a low, controlled tone. Gordon, head bowed, said nothing, shrinking under the weight of his chief's words. Watching this unfold, Leon glanced at Rosewise, genuinely impressed. Wow, my wife is so generous. Rosewise turned slowly. Her expression did not scream amusement. Wait, wife? Who told you to call me that so casually? Leon smirked. Just complimenting you. Back at the announcer's booth, the ever-energetic Pineapple raised the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, the family relay race has concluded. Let's move on to the next set of competitions. The broadcast smoothly shifted across various arenas. In the young dragon field, Noah was midair, soaring up to bite a donut dangling high above. With a clean chomp, she landed like a pro. 50 family points secured. Over in the adult division, Leon and Rosewise were strapped together for the 3-legged race. Their rhythm was perfect. Years of coordination and maybe a few arguments had paid off. While other dragons stumbled and toppled, Leon and Rosewise dashed across the finish line, picking up another 50 points. Next came a trivia challenge called Beating Around the Bush. Sitting side by side, holding their answer paddles, they crushed question after question, their teamwork shining through. Another 25 points in the bag. Then came family food sharing, a test of blind trust, literally. With a ribbon covering her eyes, Rosewise grabbed a bowl of noodles and fed Leon. Somewhat aggressively, Leon could only close his eyes and chew through it like a true warrior. A nearby dragon gawked in disbelief. By now, the crowd was electric. The sun reached its peak. Shining like it too was cheering them on. Slightly out of breath, Leon and Rosewise supported each other as they arrived at the final event, Cooking of Love. The referee greeted them with a warm smile. Welcome to the final stage of the 3-legged race. You'll now cook a family meal. The dish will be chosen by lot, and you have 1 hour. Judges will score your work. On the judging panel sat Vice President Wilson and 2 faculty members, clipboards ready. The female referee gave Leon and Rosewise a warm smile as they approached the final challenge. She lifted the microphone with practiced grace and announced the rules, a playful glint in her eye. During the cooking, you may not untie the rope on your ankles. Let this love be conveyed to each other through the rope. Leon and Rosewise blinked at her. Goosebumps. Immediate. They exchanged a glance, somewhere between disbelief and, did she really just say that? Still tied together from the previous leg, they made their way, awkwardly in sync, to the lottery table. Leon shut his eyes dramatically, murmuring a soft prayer as he reached into the box. Please, just something simple. Rosewise leaned in as Leon pulled out the slip. Their eyes dropped to the paper at the same time. Cream puffs. Rosewise's shoulders stiffened. Leon blinked. Do you know how to make this? He asked. Rosewise offered a tight smile. Leon. No. Sensing their silent panic, the referee kindly stepped in again, reminding all participants that recipe instructions were provided. Armed with a step-by-step guide, Leon and Rosewise shuffled over to the kitchen station. Aprons on, ropes still tied, expressions determined. They were ready, or so they hoped. Leon fired up the small stove and poured milk into a saucepan. All right, he muttered, reading aloud. Pour milk. Add butter. Rosewise? Butter. Rosewise snapped into action, digging through the supplies and handing him a neatly wrapped piece. Here. The rhythm had barely begun when a thunderous cheer erupted across the arena. Leon paused. Rosewise glanced up. They turned to the giant screen, and there she was, Noah, their daughter, standing poised in the center of the balloon battle royale. From the commentator's booth, Pineapple's voice was buzzing with excitement. 4 dragons remain, 2 from the Claw Dragon clan, 1 ice dragon, and 1 silver dragon. Contestant 8, Noah. On screen, Noah stood alone, her balloon tied securely to her back. Surrounding her, 3 much larger young dragons, with unmistakable intent in their eyes. It was a textbook ambush. One of them sneered, "You might as well give up." But Noah didn't budge. Her eyes stayed sharp, her stance light. She waited. Then, movement. 2 clawed dragons lunged. With a swift pivot, Noah planted her hand and side-slipped between them. Before they could blink, her fingers jabbed forward. Pop! Pop! 2 balloons gone. The crowd gasped, then erupted in cheers. Not missing a beat, Noah launched toward the last opponent. The ice dragon barely saw her coming. Another quick bend, another pop, and it was over. Noah K. Melvick, champion of the Balloon Battle Royale. Even Pineapple could barely contain her excitement. She's the youngest in the Young Dragon division, and she just took down all 3 on her own. In the stands, little Muan jumped up proudly. "That's my sister," she shouted to anyone who'd listen. Back at the cooking station, Leon let out a proud laugh as he stirred the milk. "Knew she could do it. That's my girl." Rosewise smirked and tapped her nose smugly. "Of course, she takes after her mother." Leon turned to her, smiling, but then his gaze paused. "Wait, you've got something. Here." He leaned in and gently wiped a bit of flour off the tip of Rosewise's nose. Her cheeks immediately colored with a soft blush. Where?" she mumbled, suddenly a little shy. What neither of them realized was that their little moment had just been caught and broadcast on the big screen for the entire arena to see. From the commentator's seat, Pineapple nearly squealed with delight. "Oh my goodness, look at that! What a loving couple!" Rosewise and Leon froze, their hands still mid-motion. From the commentator's booth, Pineapple nearly leapt from her seat. "In the heat of the culinary showdown, they still don't forget to take care of each other," she beamed. "Everyone, please give it up for this lovely couple from the Melvick family of the Silver Dragon clan." Down at the judges' panel, Vice Principal Wilson adjusted his glasses. He'd seen countless dishes over the years, but this moment caught his attention. He nodded thoughtfully. "A true family dish," he remarked, "shouldn't just be about flavor or presentation. It should reflect care and shared spirit." Pineapple picked up the mic again, her excitement spilling into her voice. "Let's give a warm round of applause to this exemplary dragon couple." And the crowd delivered. Loud, thunderous clapping echoed throughout the entire stadium. The applause rolled like a wave across the field. On the receiving end, however, Leon and Rosewise stood frozen in place. Leon, waving half-heartedly, leaned sideways to whisper, Which dragon must I slay to end this sports meet early? Rosewise replied through gritted teeth, still smiling at the crowd. Kill all the witnesses. Clean sweep. Minutes later, a tray of perfectly golden cream puffs sat proudly on their table. The shells were crisp, round, and generous. The aroma alone made stomachs grumble. The judges leaned in, visibly intrigued. Oh, Duncan muttered as he and another judge scooted closer. Leon and Rosewise presented their work confidently. This is cream puff, Leon said, raising a hand with showmanship. Please enjoy. Vice Principal Wilson took a puff with a fork, examining it like an ancient artifact. Then he took a bite, a satisfying crunch. His eyes lit up. He nodded with delight. Crispy shell, smooth filling, balanced sweetness. Very impressive. Then, with a curious smile, You must make these often at home? Rosewise hesitated. She looked at Leon, then casually nudged his arm. Your turn. Leon caught the cue, flashed a diplomatic smile, and replied, Yes, my wife loves cream puffs. We often make them at home together. Which was only half true. In Leon's mind, a vivid scene took shape Rosewise in a fitted apron, whisking cream at the kitchen counter, licking a dollop off her finger and teasing, Oops, got cream here. He blinked hard and shook the image out of his head. Puffs are pure, he reminded himself. Only my thoughts are not. Rosewise glanced at him, mildly alarmed by his sudden trance. Wilson chuckled. Sounds like your home life is very colorful. He leaned in again. So, any secret ingredient? Leon and Rosewise responded in perfect sync. They held each other's hands, turned toward the judges, and smiled. It's love, they said together. We've added a whole lot of love. After a quick round of judging discussion, the scorecards were lifted. All three judges gave top marks, Pineapple announced. It's the highest score of the Cooking of Love round. Leon grinned broadly, hands on his waist, triumphant. That's it. We've secured first place. With all competitions concluded, the final rankings of the St. H family sports meet lit up the big screen. Pineapple's voice rang through the stadium. In third place, the Alex family of the Claw Dragon Clan. They win a T-SAR Noodle Redemption voucher, 10 cases valid for 50 years. The Alex family stepped up proudly, waving bronze medals and holding their oversized noodle certificate like it was treasure. In second place, the Rose family of the Wind Dragon Clan. Their prize, a Class B magic tome. The Rose family held up their glowing purple book, silver medals shining around their necks. And now, our champions. Leon, Rosewise, and Noah stepped onto the highest podium. Gold medals were placed around their necks by Vice Principal Wilson himself. Pineapple's voice echoed one final time. In first place, the Melvick family of the Silver Dragon Clan. Their reward, a luxury 7-day hot spring tour. Leon held the certificate in his hand and stared at it in disbelief. 7 days, he murmured. A luxurious 7-day hot spring tour. It should have been good news, except for one detail. Those exact 7 days were supposed to be his long-awaited, Rosewise promised vacation. Alone. Leon froze in place, eyes hollow, posture limp, as if life had quietly exited his body. Rosewise, however, didn't notice his existential crisis. She crouched beside Noah, gently taking the certificate and scanning it with a pleased smile. Not bad, she said warmly. Noah, do you want to go on vacation? Noah nodded, excited. Yes! Behind them, Leon slowly dropped to his knees, reaching both hands toward the sky in quiet despair. Why? Why didn't anyone tell me this was the prize? But the sky offered no answers. His vacation had taken flight. Night came, painting the sky in deep blues. After the ceremony, the family returned to the Silver Dragon Castle. Seated around the table, glasses were lifted. Wine for Leon and Rosewise, sparkling juice for the girls. Cheers! The clink of glasses rang clear, echoing their quiet joy. Our family got first place, Juan exclaimed, beaming. Mom, Dad, Noah, you were amazing. I cheered really hard, too, Rosewise chuckled. We heard you, she said gently. Noah, more reserved than usual, lowered her drink. Her grip tightened slightly, and then she spoke. Thank you for winning with me. Rosewise reached across with a smile. We only did what parents should. The real effort was yours. Leon nodded along, but his eyes were still half-glazed. Mom's right, he added, noticeably less enthused. Rosewise noticed. She cast a brief sideways glance at him, brow furrowing. What's with him? He's been down ever since the prize announcement. Does he really hate vacations that much? She wondered silently. Before the question could become words, Noah suddenly stood. Ah! Can you all close your eyes for a second? Rosewise, Leon, and Muan exchanged puzzled looks, but didn't press. They closed their eyes as asked, patiently waiting. First, Noah walked up to Muan and wrapped her in a gentle hug. Muan giggled and leaned into her sister's warmth. Out next was Rosewise. Noah quietly embraced her waist. Rosewise didn't speak, just smiled. Finally, Noah stepped beside Leon. She hesitated. Her hands were behind her back, and she still couldn't quite look at him directly. Then Noah reached out and hugged him. Leon flinched slightly, surprised by the gesture, but quickly softened. "Thank you, Dad," Noah whispered. The words landed gently, but deeply. Leon smiled, placing a warm hand on her head. Her quiet gesture, so unlike her usual self, meant everything. Then Noah tugged at his sleeve. She tiptoed, leaned in, and planted a small kiss on his cheek. Leon blinked. He felt it. The light touch, the warmth, the sincerity. Before he could react, Noah quickly turned away, red to the tips of her ears. "Okay, you can open your eyes now." Leon, still processing, touched his cheek, as if confirming it happened. "Noah, he started. Muan, still unaware of the moment's weight, turned and asked innocently, "Noah, your face is so red. What's wrong?" Noah stayed composed, her voice calm despite her blush. "Nothing. Let's eat." Leon suddenly stood up, spirits visibly lifted. "I'm in a great mood. Where's the wine? Dad needs a drink." Rosewise rolled her eyes. "Don't drink too much. Tomorrow we're taking the kids to Sky City to shop for swimsuits." Leon winced. "Right, the vacation that wasn't really a vacation." He slumped back into his seat. "Don't ruin my moment. Let me enjoy my delusion while it lasts." It was a clear, sunny day in Sky City. He exhaled gently, then drew a single word into the fogged surface with his finger. Vacation. Leon rested his head on the table with a sigh, eyes misting. It wasn't that he disliked the trip, but losing his only chance at a real break? That stung. From outside the shop, a mother and her young daughter passed by. The little dragonling pointed at Leon curiously. "Mom, what's that dragon doing?" "Shh, don't stare, sweetie," the mother replied quickly, ushering her child away. "It's awkward." Still slumped in his seat, Leon whispered under his breath, as if addressing the lost time itself. "If I could add a deadline to this vacation, I wish it could have lasted just 7 days. At that moment, Rosewise stepped out of the fitting room, wearing a new swimsuit, and asked, "What do you think of this one?" Leon, still looking out the window, didn't turn his head. "It's good," he replied flatly. Rosewise crossed her arms. "You haven't even looked." Leon finally turned, gave her a tired glance, and managed a thumbs up. "You look good in anything. Trust me." Rosewise narrowed her eyes, not fully convinced. She looked down, adjusting the strap slightly. "It feels tight." Just then, her eyes landed on a different swimsuit, black with far less fabric, hanging on a nearby rack. Curious, she held it up. "How about this one?" He tried to stay calm, but then, nosebleed. A dramatic one. He quickly turned away, wiping at his face with an almost forced composure. I don't think it's suitable." Rosewise sighed gently and returned the swimsuit to the rack. "I thought you'd like it. Anyway, I already picked mine. We're mainly here to find yours." As if on cue, the store clerk approached with 2 small swimsuits in hand, one pink, one yellow, and held them up for Noah and Muan. Muan lit up with joy. Noah, though a bit shy, smiled softly. It was clear she liked it, even if she didn't say much. Rosewise stepped out again after changing, spotting Leon still slouched over the table. "What's wrong?" she asked gently. Leon crossed his arms and turned away. "Nothing." Rosewise wasn't fooled. She knew what this was about. "I know this was supposed to be your vacation, but the trip dates can't change. Still, look at the girls. They're excited. Seeing your daughters happy, shouldn't that mean something?" Leon glanced toward Noah and Muan. Muan was laughing, holding Noah's hand as they chatted with the shop assistant. Noah offered a rare smile, clearly enjoying the moment. He gave a small smile, tight, slightly forced. "Ha ha ha, I'm very happy." Rosewise paused, then came up with an idea. She moved closer, placed a hand gently on his shoulder, and leaned in with a playful, conspiratorial smile. "What if I promise not to touch you for all 7 days?" Leon's eyes widened, a beat of silence. Leon stood still, eyes narrowed at Rosewise. I don't believe you, he said bluntly. Hands on me? You're probably planning to touch wherever you want. Rosewise, unfazed, casually raised 3 fingers in her tail, like a pledge before a celestial court. I swear on the reputation of the Silver Dragon Queen. He narrowed his eyes, thinking it over, and finally exhaled. All right, it's settled then. Suddenly, Rosewise closed the distance. But if you can't hold on, don't blame me. Are you kidding? He said confidently. I'm a dragon slayer. I'm not going to touch you without a reason. Rosewise smiled, finding no further argument, and let the matter rest. The next morning, the group, Leon, Rosewise, and their 2 daughters, Noah and Muan, arrived at Flowing Cloud Valley, their hot spring getaway. At the lobby, a cheerful front desk clerk received their voucher with both hands, eyes scanning it quickly. Then, she looked up with a bright smile. Are you the model champion family from St. H Academy? Rosewise nodded politely. Yes. Model family? He muttered internally, unimpressed. That's definitely the vice principal's idea. Noah and Muan, meanwhile, were captivated by a large aquarium in the lobby. Colorful fish swam between miniature rock castles, glowing gently under soft lighting. Muan pointed excitedly. Wow, Noah, these fish look delicious, Noah replied calmly. They're not for eating. Back at the counter, the clerk handed 2 room cards to Rosewise. These are your keys. Rosewise thanked her, but Leon's brow furrowed. Only 2 rooms? He asked. Is something wrong, sir? The staff member asked politely. Leon's thoughts spiraled. If the girls were in one room, that meant he'd have to share with Rosewise again, a scenario he'd been trying to avoid. If you prefer, the clerk offered, we also have a honeymoon suite. Leon cut her off quickly, face already flushed. No, that's not necessary. Resigned to his fate, he followed the others toward the elevator. Rosewise signaled the girls. Let's go, Noah, Muan. Okay, Muan chirped, running ahead hand in hand with Noah. The front desk clerk bowed slightly. Enjoy your stay. The girls dashed out first once they reached their floor, laughter echoing through the hall. Rosewise smiled softly, watching them. Leon, however, wore a far gloomier expression. He stared at Rosewise's back, already calculating escape routes. Trying one last time, he caught up to the girls. Hey, Noah, Muan, would you like to stay in Dad's room? Muan clung to Noah's arm and replied without hesitation. No, I'm staying with Noah. Auntie Isa said kids and adults need private space. No disturbing. She wagged her finger, mimicking Isa's tone with surprising accuracy. Leon froze, stunned. Muan, you've just sealed your father's fate. Noah chimed in gently. I can take care of Muan now. You can enjoy your time together. Leon stood silently, eyes closed in despair. Noah, thank you for being thoughtful. But you really don't have to be this thoughtful. Rosewise, observing his collapse from behind, covered her mouth with a quiet chuckle. She walked over and handed the girls their key card. Here, this is for your room. Call us if you need anything. I know, Mom, Noah said as she took it. Muan practically bounced on her feet. Come on, Noah. Let's open the door. Leon watched them disappear down the hall, then lifted his hand with melodramatic sorrow. The kids are all grown up now. They don't need me anymore. Rosewise turned back, dangling the room card in front of him with a teasing smile. Well, why are you still standing there? Let's go. In the stands, Muan sat beside Anna, both holding pom-poms, their excitement barely contained. When Muan spotted familiar figures stepping onto the field, she jumped up. Dad! Mom! Noah! Come on! She yelled, shaking her pom-poms with all her strength. Anna joined in, equally animated. Their support added a cheerful rhythm to the growing roar of the audience. To help narrate the event, a dedicated commentary booth had been set up. With a bright smile and her headset in place, the commentator addressed the crowd. Hello, everyone. I'm Pineapple, your favorite commentator. I'll be guiding you through all the excitement today. She continued, Our first event is the family relay race. Each team has 3 members, including at least 1 current student. The total distance is 3,000 Viec meters. Fastest family wins. As she explained, participants began arriving at the track in colorful uniforms. Among them, the Electric Dragon clan stood confidently in brown sportswear, warming up with big smiles. Just then, the referee, wearing a crisp red uniform, raised a hand and called out, Time to distribute number plates. Each family sent 1 person to retrieve their team's numbers. Noah, quick and composed, returned with 3 cards, 7, 8, and 9. Mom is first, I'm second, and Dad, you're third, she said as she handed them out. Rosewise took her number with a smile, nodding at Noah. But when Noah turned to Leon, her voice softened. Her gaze flickered for a moment. She looked slightly flustered, as if she had almost called him something else. Um, can you be the third one? She asked shyly, handing him the card. Leon accepted it with a warm smile. Of course. Noah turned her head quickly, pretending to be indifferent. But the subtle blush on her cheeks spoke louder than words. Leon glanced at her, his thoughts quiet. Did she almost call me Dad just now? I wouldn't mind hearing it again. The referee called out again, urging runners to take their positions. Rosewise adjusted her number plate and turned to Leon. Noah, the race is starting. My place is here. You two should head to the next zone. Leon nodded silently, his eyes calm but determined. Even without words, Rosewise understood and nodded back with the same resolve. She held her baton and gave it a small twirl before pointing toward Noah. Don't be nervous. I'll make sure you get this baton first. Noah responded with a confident nod. Leon and Noah then walked together to the second relay point. They didn't talk along the way, both lost in thought, but there was no tension, only quiet focus. At the second relay zone, the referee reminded the next runners to gather. Leon gently helped Noah stick her number plate in place. I'll be waiting at the third point. Be careful, all right? Noah nodded calmly. Then Leon held out his fist and smiled. How about a bit of encouragement? Noah looked at him, startled at first, then glanced away shyly. Still, she raised her little fist and bumped it gently against his. Okay, she whispered. Their smiles met briefly, quiet but genuine. The moment was small, yet full of warmth. The distance between them had shrunk, if only a little. All first runners, please take your positions. Rosewise stepped forward, joining the others on the starting line. She crouched down, baton in hand, eyes fixed forward. In the stands, Muan stood up again, waving her pom-poms. Mom, you can do it! The referee stepped forward, his hand raised high as magical energy gathered at his fingertips, glowing like tiny stars ready to burst. In his other hand, he held a silver horn. Take your positions. Ready? His voice echoed across the track. Then, with a sharp flick, the referee launched a glowing fireball into the sky. It soared upward and, with a pop, exploded into a burst of golden sparks. The relay race had begun. In a blink, the runners shot forward. Rosewise surged off the line like silver lightning, her feet pounding against the track with focused power. At the commentary booth, Pineapple leapt up, her voice vibrant and animated. Look at lane 7! Rosewise from the Silver Dragon Clan is taking the lead early. But wait, the 10th contestant is closing in. That's Misty from the Electric Dragon Clan. On the track, Rosewise could feel the presence behind her. She glanced to the side. There, in brown sportswear, Misty was narrowing the gap, her eyes locked ahead with steady focus. Back at the second relay point, Leon watched the live screen, eyebrows slightly raised. Didn't expect anyone to match Rosewise's speed. A dragon beside him, arms folded and eyes closed, gave a proud chuckle. Of course, that's my wife, he said with smug calm. You silver dragons aren't the only ones who can run fast. Leon shot a look sideways, tightening his lips slightly. The smugness reminded him of certain electric dragon soldiers he'd faced before. Slippery, quick, and always ready to bolt the moment things got tough. His thoughts were interrupted as Pineapple's voice picked up again. Oh, Misty is now pulling ahead. She's just overtaken Rosewise and is now leading by nearly 2 body lengths. On screen, Misty leaned forward, legs kicking with precision. Her acceleration was sharp. Electric, even. Rosewise narrowed her eyes. She wasn't done. On the commentary stage, Pineapple turned to an elder seated beside her, Chairman Duncan, silver-haired and sipping tea with practiced calm. Chairman Duncan, which of the two, silver or electric, do you think will complete the first baton pass first? He smiled gently. Until the final moment arrives, anything can happen. Back at the sidelines, the proud electric dragon next to Leon smirked. Looks like this is over already. Some races just show the difference in bloodlines, don't they? Leon didn't answer right away. He just smiled lightly and closed his eyes, arms crossed. Sure, he said dryly. Your wife is great. The dragon nodded proudly. That's right. My wife is great. But just as he turned back to the screen, his smile faltered. Something had changed. Rosewise's eyes were sharper than ever. Her focus narrowed. She pressed down hard with her foot. Boom! A burst of raw energy propelled her forward. With renewed force, Rosewise surged ahead, her stride now even faster. She had studied Misty's pacing, waited for her burst to peak, and now it was her turn. Within seconds, Rosewise was side by side with Misty, and then in front. Misty blinked, stunned. She still had that much energy stored? Rosewise kept pushing forward, her lips curling into a slight grin as she whispered, The wind up front's pretty strong, huh? She had used Misty's positioning earlier to reduce drag, saving her strength for this final burst. Now, Misty struggled to keep up. Her form tightened, her breath shortened. The gap between them widened step by step. Pineapple leaned into her mic with growing excitement. Rosewise just reclaimed the lead with an explosive final sprint. She's the first to reach the second relay point. Ahead, Noah stood ready, one hand extended behind her, body slightly crouched. Rosewise's baton passed smoothly into her hand. Snap! And Noah was off, dashing forward with quick steps and a steady grip. Behind them, Misty finally reached the zone and handed the baton to her son, Dean, who launched forward in hot pursuit. Rosewise stood back, breathing deeply, her chest rising and falling with light exertion. Her eyes followed Noah, watching as her daughter pulled ahead. A smile formed on Rosewise's face, quiet and proud. She had done her part. Just then, she turned slightly, her eyes catching a familiar figure across the field. Leon stood at the third relay point, hands in his pockets, giving her a confident thumbs up and a smile that said, "Told you so." Rosewise chuckled softly. She raised her fist in return, silently cheering him on. "The rest," she thought with quiet conviction, "is in your hands now." After we entered the room at the Hot Spring Hotel, Rosewise pulled open the curtains. Sunlight streamed in through the window, brightening the entire room. Right outside the back door of the bedroom was an enormous hot spring. Clear spring water trickled down from a rock formation. The sound of the flowing water created an incredibly soothing atmosphere. The room itself felt spacious, and the decor was elegant and refined. The ceiling featured a dominant brown tone, accented with beautiful decorative patterns. A massive French window overlooked the scenic view outside, giving visitors a glimpse of the stunning natural beauty. Rosewise turned to Leon and said, "The scenery here is quite nice, isn't it?" Leon walked into the room, carrying both his and Rosewise's suitcases. He glanced around and agreed. The environment really was excellent, but something about what she said confused him. As the Silver Dragon Queen, Rosewise should have had plenty of chances to visit this place. He asked her, "You've never been here before?" Rosewise folded her arms in front of her chest and gently shook her head, her gaze still fixed on the view outside the window. "No, this is also my first time. I've been so busy handling affairs of the Silver Dragon clan, I rarely had the chance to take Noah and Muan out to have fun." For the past few years, Rosewise had been tied up managing the clan's matters, leaving her little opportunity to relax and travel with her daughters. Thanks to winning first place in the recent sports meet, she was finally able to clear her schedule and spend time with them. Knowing how rare this outing was, Rosewise made a decision. "So this time I brought a camera. I'm going to take some special commemorative photos for them." She said it with a smile, as if already imagining Noah and Muan's joyful laughter echoing around her. When Leon heard her mention the camera, his suitcase slipped from his hands. His expression turned uneasy. He had suddenly remembered something dreadful. In his heart, he panicked. "Camera? Is it the one I used before?" Leon quickly opened the suitcase on the floor, desperate to check if it was the same camera he had in mind. Besides their clothes, a black camera sat in plain view. Spotting it, Rosewise said, "Yes, that's the one. I got it as a reward for taking first place in the school sports meet." Leon nervously picked it up. He examined it closely and confirmed. This was the very same camera he had used before. Back when Rosewise had fainted, in a moment of petty revenge, Leon had dressed her up as a bunny girl and secretly taken photos with this camera. And those photos? They were still saved inside. "This is bad," he thought. "Those pictures are still in here. If she finds them, I'm done for." That's the kind of ironclad evidence that gets a guy executed by the she-dragon herself. Seeing that Leon had already taken out the camera, Rosewise reached out her hand. "Give me the camera." Leon glanced back at her, quietly panicking. "I need to develop and hide those photos before she sees them. Then erase everything on the camera." He crouched down and clutched the camera tightly in his arms, refusing to let go. Rosewise frowned at his odd behavior. "What are you doing? Why are you guarding the camera like it's some kind of treasure?" Trying not to seem suspicious, Leon forced an awkward smile and stammered, "Let me help take the photos. I'm very professional." Rosewise raised an eyebrow, surprised. "Aren't you a professional dragon slayer? Since when did you become a photography expert?" Leon patted his chest and tried to sound confident. "Don't worry, leave it to me. I've been taking pictures of my master's donkey since I was a kid." Strangely enough, Rosewise didn't seem too concerned by his odd comment. She simply closed her eyes and said, "Fine. You can take the pictures. Tonight, there'll be an outdoor barbecue and a fireworks show. Let's go for a walk first. Relieved that she agreed to let him keep the camera, Leon breathed a quiet sigh of relief. No problem, he replied. After resting in the hotel room for a bit, Leon, Rosewise, Noah, and Muan headed out to explore the area. They wandered into a lush garden, with Noah and Muan leading the way, and Leon and Rosewise trailing behind. Leon raised his camera and called out to the girls, "Dad's your photographer today." Muan happily waved. "Yeah!" They passed a statue of a female knight radiating a solemn presence. She wore heavy armor and had plunged her sword into the ground, her hands resting on the hilt. Her gaze was unwavering, determined, like she was staring down fate itself. Drawn by the statue, Muan pulled Noah toward it. She struck a pose beside it, mimicking the knight's stance. Leon raised his camera and captured the moment. Soon, they entered a quiet forest, where adorable spotted deer wandered about. Some grazed slowly, others wandered aimlessly, and a few allowed visitors to gently pet them. Muan rushed over to one and gently hugged it. "It's so cute," she exclaimed. Noah walked up to another deer, holding out a carrot. "Do you want to eat?" Rosewise followed them in, reaching out to softly pat one of the deer on the head. Sunlight filtered through the canopy above, casting dappled light on her. From a distance, her majestic aura as queen shimmered even more vividly. Noah and Muan stared in awe at their mother's radiant presence. "Mom is so beautiful." After spending some time with the deer, the family left the forest and soon came across an amusement park. Outside the amusement park stood several rows of doll machines. Muan's eyes lit up with excitement. She pointed and exclaimed, "Mom, let's play that!" Inside the machine were colorful plush toys of all shapes and sizes. Rosewise inserted a coin and focused intently on the claw. Her serious expression showed she meant business. Muan stood beside her, cheering her on. "Mom, go for it." Leon watched Rosewise's intense expression. He quietly raised the camera and whispered in his heart, "Nice face." Before long, Rosewise successfully snagged a doll with the machine. She turned to Leon with a joyful smile and exclaimed in triumph. He seized the moment, capturing her rare and radiant smile perfectly through the lens. Leon glanced down at the picture he had just taken. It was flawless. Rosewise walked over to Leon's side. She leaned in slightly and looked at the photos on the camera screen, a flicker of surprise in her expression. She said to him, Your photography skills are actually pretty good. I thought you'd make me look terrible." She hadn't expected Leon to capture her expression so well. Leon seemed a bit flustered by Rosewise's sudden closeness. After all, he didn't want her to see certain photos in the camera. He replied, Don't underestimate me." After exploring so many places, Noah and Muan began to feel a bit tired. They mentioned wanting something cold to drink. Leon quickly agreed. He headed off to a beverage shop inside the amusement park. However, due to the crowd, he had to line up with other tourists. While waiting in the queue, Rosewise suddenly appeared beside him and stood in line. Leon looked over, puzzled by her actions, and asked, "What are you doing here? I can queue up by myself." Rosewise averted her gaze, not meeting Leon's eyes, and mumbled softly, "Not worried, just, you'd be bored." At that moment, she lowered her head to look at the teddy bear she held in her hands, the same one she had just won from the claw machine. But as she looked at the little bear, her expression turned hesitant. She said to Leon, "This..." Leon noticed her hesitation and asked, "What? Is it for me? Last time, in Sky City, you gave me one, didn't you?" Rosewise closed her eyes and extended the teddy bear toward Leon. She turned away again, avoiding eye contact, her cheeks gradually flushing with embarrassment. The teddy bear was slightly larger than her palm. It wore a little purple dress with a red bow around the collar. It smiled up at Leon, as if silently hoping he would accept it. Upon seeing the bear, Leon couldn't help but laugh. Compared to the large teddy bear he had given Rosewise before, hers was much smaller. He reached out, took the bear from her hands, and joked, "The one I gave you is the Bear King. Yours is just a little bear." Rosewise's expression darkened at once. Clearly unhappy with his response, she glared at him and clenched her fist. She hadn't expected Leon to mock the gift she had shyly given him. With an angry huff, she reached toward Leon, trying to snatch the bear back. "You don't want it? Fine, then. Do you know how hard it was for me to catch that doll?" Her tone was sharp and upset. Leon hadn't expected her to take his teasing so seriously. He quickly hid the little bear behind his back and tried to explain, "I didn't say I didn't want it." While Leon and Rosewise waited in line, Noah and Muan sat on a bench in the amusement park, taking a break. Muan swung her legs idly and looked toward the direction Leon and Rosewise had gone. She muttered, "Dad and Mom are so slowed. When will Muan finally get to drink pineapple ice?" Noah sat with her eyes closed, resting. Hearing Muan's complaint, she slowly opened her eyes and looked at her sister. "Actually, sometimes I envy you, Muan." Muan blinked, surprised. She turned toward Noah and asked, "You envy me? Why?" Noah didn't look back. She lowered her gaze to her shoes, her expression filled with quiet longing. Her legs swayed gently as she spoke. "I envy that you can talk to Dad and Mom about anything, without holding back." Muan tilted her head, confused by Noah's words. As daughters of Leon and Rosewise, both of them had always been free to say whatever was on their minds, happy or sad. She replied, "But Noah, you can do that too." Noah gently shook her head. "No, I can't. I've grown up now. I can't just say whatever I want anymore." Her voice carried a seriousness that didn't suit her age. She stared ahead, her tone mature and restrained. So different from Muan, who could still act spoiled around their parents. But does Noah really seem like a child who can shoulder everything? In truth, she isn't. She wasn't always like this. As the older of the twins, by just 20 minutes, Noah had been just like Muan at birth, a baby who cried for her mother. They had lain together in their warm crib, and whenever either felt discomfort, they cried out, calling Rosewise to their side. They grew up carefree, surrounded by their mother's gentle care, learning about the world and gathering knowledge step by step. Whenever they weren't crying, Rosewise would pull a storybook from the shelf and cradle both Noah and Muan in her arms. She read them stories with warmth and animation, even though they were too young to understand her words. Still, the twins listened with rapt attention, eyes fixed on the pictures and their mother's loving face. In their eyes, Mom was the most powerful being in the world. Rosewise would always smile at them as she read, clearly cherishing every moment spent with them. Until one day, Noah saw something that changed her. She saw her strong, beautiful mother sitting beside their father's bed, lost in thought, her expression filled with quiet pain. It was the first time Noah realized that even someone as powerful as Rosewise had a soft, vulnerable side. She had walked past Leon's room and glanced in. Rosewise was seated by his bedside. Leon was unconscious, and Rosewise looked completely different from her usual self. That sorrowful look, so foreign to Noah, cut into her heart. Rosewise sat there silently, clenching her teeth as she stared at Leon. She didn't say a word, but there was something unwilling in her gaze. And at that moment, a thought took root in Noah's heart. If I grow up a little faster, maybe I can help lighten Mom's burden. From then on, a desire to protect her family quietly bloomed within her. She began doing everything she could to act like an adult. She studied hard, not just for herself, but for Rosewise. Noah even walked while reading, holding the book up as she tried to digest its content faster. Though much of it was still beyond her age, she never let fear stop her. She pushed herself to grow, to become independent and mature, striving for excellent results. When Rosewise saw Noah's perfect report card, she smiled with genuine pride and reached out to stroke her daughter's head. Seeing her mother's joy, Noah's heart swelled. To keep that smile on Rosewise's face, Noah continued working harder, growing stronger, so that her mother would never again have to show the same painful expression as that day. After listening to Noah's story, Muan closed her eyes, trying to process it. But after a few moments of thinking, she still couldn't quite grasp the depth of what Noah meant. She waved her hands and said, Muan doesn't really get all that complicated stuff, but Muan also envies Noah." Noah blinked, caught off guard. "What? You envy me?"